I think it's going to be a very good fight. Conor has punching power chances. Chris is the bigger guy, so you give Chris the advantage going in because he's the bigger guy, but Conor does have exceptional punching power, so it's going to be a great fight. I think Chris should win the fight. I think Chris should outbox him, outsmart him, but he will have to be smart early because Conor is a great puncher. You have to take your fundamentals with you. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can't take your fundamentals, you can't go nowhere. If you can take your basic foundation and your basic fundamentals, it all stays the same. A little more weight just means a little bit more power. But if you don't take the fundamentals with you, a little more weight will mean a little less power. So I advise him to take his fundamentals with him when you go.
Fighting and sparring are two very different things. Conor's fought 3 times at 154 pounds and, he struggled in every fight. That's his latest form. So, you have to go off what people are doing in the ring, and, based on his latest form, you wouldn't put him in there with Chris Eubank Jr.
I'm not going to let you go, Barry. I want to ask you, but at the end of the month, obviously, big fight. Eubank Jr. takes on Conor Benn. Well talked about, well documented. Where are you on it?
I think it's going to be a massive fight. I think it's arguably one of the biggest fights ever to take place in England. The personalities, the backstory between the dads, everything works to make this humongous. We could have sold 500,000 tickets. I think I'm with Conor Benn on this. I think he's gone through more than enough in his life, which has now been completely exonerated. What a waste of 2 years of a young man's life. He's got a point to prove, but Eubank is the bigger man. So I see it as a 50-50 fight, and I believe that Conor Benn can knock out Eubank Jr.
The fight between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. has reignited a historic rivalry, and the anticipation surrounding their upcoming bout continues to intensify. With opinions split down the middle, a wide spectrum of voices from the boxing world have weighed in, some backing Benn's ferocity, others siding with Eubank's experience and size.
By the way, that was interesting. Eubank Benn, that's a fight you want to see, no?
That is a fight I want to see.
Good fight, isn't it?
For sure, it is a good fight.
Big fight as well, like stadium, packed out.
Are we saying stadium?
I think so. I think
it does. Think we'll do well?
Yeah.
Wembley, Tottenham, Cardiff.
Tottenham, yeah? 60,000.
That'll work out well.
Yeah, I think Wembley might just be pushing it just a little bit.
I think they can do it.
Only a few certain men can do Wembley.
Boxing's on the big stage.
Agreed.
Are you coming back ever? And are you going to be at Tottenham Hotspur next weekend?
I'll be there next weekend, I'll be watching Eubank Benn.
Come on, who's going to win it?
My opinion, I've got Eubank to win. I think just with his size and... but like I said, I don't know, it's one of them, isn't it? Because the weight's an issue. What's he going to have took out of Eubank, when he gets in the ring? That we're going to have to wait and see. But I just slightly favour towards Eubank in this fight just because he's boxed on a bigger level. For me, Conor's not really boxed at that level, as yet.
Would you have smashed Conor as a welterweight?
I've smashed them both.
Would you have smashed them both?
Absolutely, I've smashed them both. It's in me blood, I'm excited for the fight,
Conor Benn's trainer Tony Sims carries no doubts about his fighter's readiness. Sims has consistently praised Benn's preparation, noting a particularly productive training camp marked by intense focus and tireless commitment. From his perspective, Benn isn't just physically on point, he's mentally dialed in as well. Sims believes the combination of conditioning and motivation will carry Benn through to victory when the bell rings.
Yeah, it's a massive fight, obviously, because of their dads' names, and I think he'll pack any stadium out in England, and people will want to see that fight. There's some bad blood now between them both, which there weren't before, but over the past year they've not got on so well, and so yeah, it's a big grudge match now, and. Conor's got to fight 2 weights up, which ain't easy to do. But, he's confident of beating him.
Amir Khan, who originally backed Benn, has had a change of heart. After some reflection, he now leans toward Eubank, pointing to the clear size and strength advantage. He admits that Benn is relentless and full of heart, but doesn't see that as enough to overcome the gap in physical attributes. According to Khan, while Eubank may not sit at the level of elite names like Canelo Alvarez, he still holds enough tools to manage the smaller, pressure-heavy style of Benn.
At the fight, you got 2 different styles. You've got an aggressive Conor Benn style, and then you've got a boxer in Eubank. So, it'll be a technical fight. Is a shorter guy, stronger guy gonna push him back, or is the guy who's the taller guy and who's more of a better boxer, is he gonna outbox Conor? So it's hard to tell. You know what I mean? Who's going to win that fight?
Johnny Nelson echoes similar sentiments. For him, Benn's long layoff from the ring is the key concern. He respects Benn's skills, but places more value on Eubank's consistency and recent activity. In his view, those factors provide Eubank with a sharper edge. Nelson also attributes the fight's buzz largely to Eubank himself, highlighting the now infamous egg slap as a moment that helped drive interest. He believes Eubank's promotional instincts have helped turn this into a major event.
That's the only reason why I go against Conor Benn, because of inactivity. I think he's not boxed for 15 months and his career is staggered. And at one point, so this guy's one of the fastest improving fighters I've seen in this country. Unfortunately, his career came to a halt. The progression of career came to a halt. And I think that's the only thing I weigh against him, because Chris in his last fight, I didn't think he looked outstanding. But he's been more consistent. He's been busier. I think Chris sold the fight with the egg. Regardless of what you think, Chris sold the fight, and it was like it was on every headline going. So he sold the fight regardless, and I don't knock him for it. All right, I'll probably not put down on another man, but these two are different gravy. You know what I mean? So things that are said, that they're speaking about each other's family and things like that, and I'm like, they've crossed the line already.
Showbiz the Adult brings a slightly different perspective to the conversation. While he still picks Eubank to win, he raises the issue of weight. He points out that Eubank might be compromised by having to drop weight and then deal with a rehydration cap. That could leave him drained, creating an opening for Benn's relentless pressure to do damage. So while he sees Eubank as the favorite, he's not ruling out the impact that weight could have on the outcome.
He's such a great salesman, Eddie Hearn is. There's a chance that Conor Benn has the weight advantage this fight. Bruh, there is a chance that Conor Benn has the weight advantage this fight. Chris Eubank coming down, and then with a rehydration clause, y'all seen it time and time again, there's a good chance that Conor Benn, he's not going to be able, not Conor Benn, but Chris Eubank is not going to be able to endure and not going to be able to swat.
Gareth A. Davies adds to the hype by suggesting that this bout is bigger than ever, fueled by long-standing tension and rising anticipation. Davies acknowledges Benn's explosive potential early in the fight, but ultimately backs Eubank based on his experience at a higher level. He expects Eubank to edge the contest on points, assuming he weathers the early storm.
There's going to be a few surprises next week, I think, but
do you think one's too big and one's too little, or do you think we're going to get a real battle?
I think Eubank's probably a bit too big, and he's mixed in higher company. He's fought some really tough guys, that like Groves, Smith. He knows what it's like to be in there with world-class people, and Benn hasn't really experienced that, so I think that's going to be the difference.
Eddie Hearn, who has supported Benn through both the highs and controversies, remains firmly behind his fighter. He believes the public is overlooking just how hungry and driven Benn truly is. According to Hearn, Benn's camp has been all about hard work and laser focus, and he sees that as the deciding factor. Though Eubank might hold a physical edge, possibly entering the ring as much as 10 pounds heavier, Hearn insists that determination will be the real difference maker. He anticipates a calm build-up until weigh-in day, after which tensions might explode.
He's just had the camp of dreams. Honestly, he's invested so heavily in that camp, and actually, you should never be afraid to make that kind of investment financially. Especially if you're making a great payday. But not many people go to that level to make sure that it's perfect in every way. Food, sleep, strength, recovery, massage, sparring, gym facilities, everything. And as an athlete, or in anything you do, if you've prepared like that, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm ready. I couldn't have done anything more. Now I've got to go out there and enjoy myself and deliver. And I believe he will next week. I think the one thing that Chris Eubank has that Conor doesn't in this fight is size and probably strength. What he doesn't have, in my opinion, is the boxing ability, the speed, the movement of Conor Benn. Don't get me wrong, if this fight was at the same weight class, Conor Benn's a big favourite. But Conor Benn's coming up 2 weight classes, and that's what makes this fight a 50-50. Eubank has the size, but Conor has the speed, the sharpness, and in my opinion, the ability.
Liam Smith, who handed Eubak a knockout loss in early 2023, weighed in with his own analysis. He acknowledges that Eubak looked better in their rematch, but still sees the size gap between Eubak and Benn as too wide. From Smith's perspective, Benn will struggle to neutralize Eubak's range and strength, and that physical mismatch will ultimately limit Benn's effectiveness.
What do you make of Eubak versus Benn?
You know, I'm not 100% sold on the winner, but I'll probably head towards Chris on points.
Why?
Just size-wise, Conor's small. Yeah, I think Chris might rob a points win, if that makes sense. I think he'll jab, I think he'll be cagey on. I think that's a style now. You know, he's not the Chris of old where everyone makes out he's fucking loves a fight and ferocious and got this big high work rate. I think he's very cagey, jabs and holds a lot. And I think he won't give Conor a chance in there.
Carl Frosch has little faith in Benn's ability to make the leap. He concedes that Benn has looked exciting in the past, but points out that most of those wins came against aging or faded opposition. In contrast, Eubak has been in the ring with stronger, fresher fighters and has competed at more demanding weight classes. Frosch just doesn't believe Benn can bridge that gap, no matter how motivated he may be.
I just think that all the variables, and you look at who's done what and who's the bigger, stronger man and who's got the experience at world level, you're gonna have to say Chris Eubak Jr. He's fought Groves, he's fought Billy Joe Saunders, he's been in there and beat Arthur Abraham, James DeGale, former IBF super middleweight world champion. He beat him. So he's performed at a better level and proven that at a higher weight, he kind of belongs around the world, sort of the world level status, where Conor Benn hasn't done anything. He's done nothing. Make no mistake. Yes, he banged out Chris Algieri, who was a former champ, and he looked good doing it. But it was a way past his best, Chris Algieri. I was working the commentary team for him alongside Roy Jones Jr. when Billy Joe Saunders fought Canelo Alvarez, and Chris was saying to me, I'm not in the gym, I'm not training, I'm not interested in boxing anymore, I'm going to concentrate on my punditry. About 6 months later, I'm seen getting knocked out by Conor Benn. I thought, what is going on? Why do these fighters do it? Obviously, some of them need the bunts. But yeah, if I'm going to pick who I think is my immediate favourite for this fight, I'm going to say Chris Eubak Jr., based on everything I've just told you.
Simon Jordan takes a stance rooted less in the fighters themselves and more in the spectacle surrounding them. He's openly stated that he's not interested in the matchup, having voiced strong criticism of the event and its controversies in the past. For him, attending would feel like backtracking, so he's choosing to remain on the sidelines.
My mate Daniel Levy's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yep.
I'm pretty clear on my view on it, for what it's worth.
What? You don't want to see it, or?
No, I don't like it. I don't think it's the right fight. I think there's a lot of things around that fight that don't sit very well with me. I can't sit there and have said the things that I've said over the last 2 years and then suddenly rock up ringside like some...
Duke McKenzie brings a grounded voice to the conversation. While the family names and drama might draw headlines, McKenzie urges fans to focus on the actual boxing. He sees both men as dangerous in their own right and believes their contrasting styles promise real action. For him, this is about what happens in the ring, not what's been said outside it.
You know, Eubak Benn is synonymous, obviously, because of their dads, and obviously this man had a part to play in that whole shake-up. So I mean, you know, Eubak Benn, it's brought a whole new audience to the sport of boxing, a whole new young audience to the sport of boxing. You know, you don't get a lot of young guys now talking about Benn Eubank seniors. They're talking about Benn Eubank juniors, and all the kids in my gym are absolutely sold on this. It's box office. It's entertainment.
Shakur Stevenson provides a more tactical take. He sees Eubak as the more complete fighter with better timing and sharper instincts in the ring. Stevenson appreciates Benn's courage, especially for taking on a larger opponent, but feels Eubak's technical edge gives him the upper hand. He expects a competitive bout, but predicts that Eubak's superior skill set will allow him to take control.
The Conor Benn Chris Eubak fight over in the UK. Conor Benn and Eubak both pretty big names, but Conor going up 2 weight divisions really to take that fight. You're smiling. So what do you what's your take on that one?
I'm just smiling because like I met Conor Benn and like he a cool ass dude.
He is.
He's very cool. Like everybody talk about how mean he is, but like every time I ran into him, he was always like a really cool dude. He always showed me like good energy. But truthfully, with that fight, I think that's a hard task just because of Chris Eubak. He's like a guy with subtle boxing skills. Like you ain't really noticing how like good he is, but he's a pretty good fighter. So I think it's a hard task. Good luck to Conor. I can't really give you an answer on how the fight will go, but I'm rooting for Conor Benn.
Ricky Hatton, who has a long-standing connection with the Benn family, acknowledges the challenge Conor faces. He's aware of the size and experience Eubank brings to the table. Still, he praises Benn's mental strength and raises the possibility that Eubank might again struggle with making weight, just as he did before his first fight with Liam Smith. Hatton believes that if Benn can take advantage of that and push hard from the start, the upset is not out of reach.
It's really interesting to think, to be honest with you. I mean, Conor's going up for 2 weight divisions. He's not fought anyone like the people that Eubank Jr. has fought, at his own weight, let alone 2 weights above. So it'll be very interesting. But Conor has a huge self-belief and drive, to be honest with you. A drive like his dad. The Benn family, I've never seen a family with more drive and determination. So I think everything's pointing at Chris Eubank Jr. But I think I might have a sneaky few quid on Conor, to be honest with you. His drive and his confidence and his self-belief is something that I've only ever seen in a handful of people, and he's going to need that, and I think that might be enough against Eubank.
Steve Collins, who once shared the ring with both fathers of the 2 current fighters, sees this as a fight that could be decided by a single moment. For him, Benn doesn't need to outclass Eubank, he just needs to land something clean. In Collins' eyes, one big punch could turn everything around, making strategy less important than execution.
Fury's dad done in the day and land big shots. He's not going to outbox him. He's not going to, outsmart him. He's just going to have to land big shots. That's his route to success in this fight. It's not going to be easy, but that's how I see Conor winning: is landing big shots and hurting and stopping Eubank. Eubank is clever. He's been at a good level. He's tough. So it's a hard shout. If Conor lands the big shots, he could do it.
Ben Shalom distances himself from the drama, choosing instead to focus on the sporting side of things. He dismisses the off-ring narratives as distractions and prefers to judge the fight on its merits. Shalom speaks highly of Eubank, describing him as professional and reliable. He views Eubank as a positive figure within the sport and someone who consistently meets expectations.
Listen, I was disappointed in Conor. I thought he was going to come and show his weight. No, but in all seriousness, it is tense because of what happened and what has happened between them. It's interesting to see them in front of each other now. But I'm just excited. I know how much Chris has prepared for this fight. I appreciate he's 35 and people concerned about his weight, but he's an elite level fighter and he's going to show that.
Teddy Atlas paints Eubank as someone who thrives in heated, high-stakes environments. He suggests that if Eubank is able to draw Benn into exchanges, he could exploit mistakes and impose his will. Still, despite his respect for Eubank's mental toughness, Atlas picks Benn to win, hinting that raw determination and risk-taking could prevail.
It's a banger. People can't wait to see that, and they're all excited about that. And rightfully so. It's got the promotional chops to it. It's got the behind the scenes stuff to it. With animosity and bad blood, whatever, all that stuff, and it's got the history with the fathers. Eubanks, wants to probably keep it on the outside as much as he can and use his skill sets to, use his hand speed and his ability to throw counter punches and, punches from different angles. He needs space, or space accommodates him pretty well and favors him pretty well when he has that space to do that. And I would think that Ben would like to take that space away. It should be an interesting fight. You can make I like parts of each guy. I like the ability of Eubanks when he's right, when his focus is there, when he's right, to be able to do things in a boxing way on the outside. And I love Ben's style and his approach. I do, where, being aggressive in a responsible way, in a way a fighter should be, with paying attention.
Frank Warren rounds out the narrative with an eye on the big picture. He believes the public's interest in this bout stems not just from the fight itself, but from everything surrounding it. The history, the canceled event, and the names involved. For Warren, this is boxing theater at its finest, and the emotional investment of fans is already locked in.
Yeah, I watch it. I watch all boxing on there. You know, it is what it is. I'm not going to change my views on the fight at all. I've said enough about the fight, what I think about it. I'm not a big fan of Chris Eubanks Jr. He's 36 years old, 36 years of age, and I look at what Hamza's doing. I look what Denzel Bentley have done. You know, gone and fought for proper world titles, real world titles, and done them at a young age.
You feel like Chris has wasted perhaps prime years of his career?
I don't think about him at all, to be quite honest. It doesn't concern me. All I'm interested in doing, excuse me, is making fights for my fighters. And as I say, you know, him and Conor, anytime can fight my two guys. I think the weight thing at the time was a very relevant point. Of course it was. It was a very relevant point. But look, it is what it is, and that's the border control. They're obviously will be scrutinising everything. I'm sure everything will be in order.
As the countdown continues, there's no consensus, just a flurry of predictions shaped by experience, emotion, and the fighters' contrasting journeys. With legacy, pride, and questions of redemption on the line, the fight between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. stands as one of the most polarizing showdowns in recent memory. Whether it ends in a flash of power or a slow, grinding decision, the only thing that's certain is this: everyone will be watching. So what are your thoughts about this fight? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.